welcome to the first episode of Fantasy Minutes. First things first, join the Fantasy Minutes League. The code is below and the link is below. I'm going to be sitting down with the winner each month and going over people's fantasy picks and giving advice. And the winner of the entire league will get something worth over 10,000 shillings. So join. Today it's all about you. I'm going to be taking a look at the teams that you sent in and reviewing them. I got so many screenshots, but I realized a lot of you had the same players in your team. So what I've done is I've tried to be as varied as possible so that I can give as much advice as possible. So let's get started. The first team I am looking at is Carl Thorin. So Carl, you've decided to go very big on your midfield. Aubameyang, Salah, Fernandes. My advice is your striking is too light. I think you need some reinforcement there. So my advice would be sell one of the big players and get a striker who you know can perform well in the Premier League. We're not sure if Werner will perform well. Yes, he's from the Bundesliga. Yes, he's had a good preseason, but he's still untested. So maybe try and go for one of the experienced strikers in the Premier League who are not so expensive. Ings and Jimenez are 8.5, Richarlison is 8. So you can take some of that money from one of the sales of Salah, Alba or Fernandes and use that. Let's move on. We have Denilson. You sent me two teams. My advice, team 2 has way too many players who are not playing this week. De Bruyne, Fernandes, Martial, and they're all heavyweight players. They all cost a lot of money. So I advise you to stick with that first team that you have. Instead of Armstrong, maybe you can go with another 5.5 player who has more opportunities to score. I'm thinking Lundstrom had a great season at Sheffield. Westwood is also a good choice. And Henderson, surprisingly enough, is 5.5. And all three of them had way more points than Armstrong. So that's something to consider. Next up, we have Frank Rizzi. Let's look at your team. You've opted to have De Bruyne and Rashford, both of whom are not playing. Instead of the two of them, you get Alba, you get Salah, you get Son, someone who you know will play in the first week, and then just swap them out for De Bruyne or Rashford. Next up, Gilbert Kibet. Gilbert's team. I like it. Finally, someone who's decided to go with Vardy instead of Werner. We know he can score in the Premier League. He was literally the top scorer. So I don't understand why he's not in more of your teams. Pepe though, question mark. He's 8 million and he's not been very good. My advice, if you're intent on keeping an Arsenal player, maybe go for Willian, who did really well at Chelsea last season and got a lot of points. If you are a little bit flexible, you can risk it. There's a 7.5 player who's just come into Everton, James Rodriguez. You can risk that. Okay, so Joram asked for my advice. Okay, KDB for Salah or Alba. Nice, give me 3. Bruno for Son. Give me 2. Okay, you've thought ahead. Hey, you're planning. So recommend better 7 or 6.5 instead of Perez. So for 7 we have Zaha at Crystal Palace. During the preseason he's actually been played as a forward, so he might be a good option. He'll be getting points for midfield and he's playing as a striker. Next up we have Lewis, let's see your team. Lewis, where's your money? I'm trying to do the math and there's something wrong. It's not making sense why your strike force is so weak. Like, those are cheap guys. I know you have Alba, Son and Salah, but no, and Saka is 5.5. Where's your money? Stop being a kuyo. I will spend that cash. We have Jimenez, we have Ings, we have Richarlison, we have Kane, we have Vardy. All of those who are really good strikers who can get you points. These guys, we don't know. These guys are all new. So Abu Fungua Mfuko. Let's see, Marvin. So my advice would be get a cheaper midfielder instead of Traore. Get Lundstrom 5.5, get Susek 5 million, and then use that extra 2 million to strengthen your strike force. Antonio. West Ham has one of the toughest opening 6 games of all the teams in the Premier League. They'll be facing Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, City, Spurs. Other options that you can get, Ayew is a good bet. Maupai is also a good bet, also at 6.5. So those are some of your options. Hey, Melvin, yo! Shout out. This is my boy. Okay, let's look at this team. Finally, someone who's brave. You've decided to go all out on your forwards rather than your midfield, which is good. You've picked people who we know can score in the Premier League already. Vardy, Jimenez, Martial. So I'm interested to see how this works. My only advice is, instead of Alonso, maybe think of going with Azpilicueta, because Chilwell, as soon as he comes back from injury, will be swapped out with Alonso. And you do not want to have to spend your free transfer in a game week on a defender. And Mount as well, maybe Ziyech, more likely to play. He's been playing in pre-season friendlies and has been impressing. Or Barkley, yeah, because Barkley is expensive and will not get game time. Patrick, Atara, you have sent me 2 teams. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to analyze both or choose one. I'm going to just choose one because it's clear option 2 is much better. Kane. I don't know why they keep making Kane so expensive, but he's good. As for your other striking option, if you're selling Adams, you can go for Ayew or Maupai. They're 6 million as well. Even Callum Wilson is 6 million. He's at Newcastle, and they've gotten way more points than Adams. Next up, we have Vani Pro. I wonder which team you support. I wonder which team you support. You have 3 players that are not even playing this week and you've captained one of them. I would advise you to just make a few changes. De Bruyne for sure, like I've just kept saying, get someone that you can swap out. Maybe instead of Wan-Bissaka, get a Spurs defender. They have such an easy fixture list coming, so Aurier is a good option. Okay, so we have Reale. So Maitland has been a bright spot in Arsenal the last few games, but we don't know if he'll stay. Arteta doesn't seem to like him very much. I don't know why. So something to consider. Spurs option. They have a good run-in of fixtures the next 6 weeks. I like Lallana. I like that. Yeah, he's gone to Brighton, and if we remember, he was so good at Southampton, like so good. And it's just he wasn't of the same caliber when he went to Liverpool. I mean, how can you compete with Salah and Mane? So he looks like he's just one of those players who's just so good for a mid-table team. So at 6.5, Lallana is a good pick. Next up, we have Roy Kenywa Havertz. Apparently, he's been impressing in training, so there's a chance he will actually start against Brighton. So at 8.5, I think he's going to be a steal because all of the midfielders of his caliber are so expensive. Vanna is your captain, very brave. Alba might be a better choice. I mean, he's scored so many goals in the last few games for Arsenal. He is basically Arsenal. And an interesting stat, he's not gone more than 3 games without scoring or assisting. Samuel Njuguna. Okay. Okay, I'm liking this team. Okay. Both Robertson and Van Dijk, then Thiago Silva. That's good. And then your midfield looks strong. The only same advice I've given everyone with regards to Antonio, maybe go for Ayew or Maupai or Callum Wilson. Hey, I've just thought about it. Like if Antonio scores, like I have so many apologies to make. Let's move on to Selectam Kinanyu. I hope I've said that right. Midfield. I think you need a big name. I don't know where you'll squeeze that money out of. Maybe in defense, go for some cheaper defenders. Mitchell in Crystal Palace is 4 million, and he's been playing in preseason because Van Aanholt is injured. So think about that. But Apple, let me not lie, you'll struggle if you don't get a good midfielder. Okay, let's look at your team. You're ready? Okay, Bamford, a lead striker, very good option. He had a good season at Leeds in the championship. There's always those players that come from the championship that just come and start shining in the Premier League. So you never know, this could be one of them. I don't even want to give advice because I'm curious to see how that Bamford option goes for you. I think my final team, we have Davy. Hey, Davy. I don't even know where to start with you. Rodrigo, will he play? Jesus, maybe Firmino. Out of all the Liverpool players to choose, Lo Celso has even been scoring goals, as in he's played 14 times and has no goal for Spurs. El Mohamdi, West Ham defender. I've just said those fixtures that they're playing at the start of the season are bad. David Luiz, of all the Arsenal defenders, you chose Luiz. Hey, you. I think we need a one-on-one session. Like, this whole team, we just need to scrap it and start afresh. I think that's it. I wish you all the best in this coming Fantasy Premier League season. If you haven't joined already, join my Fantasy League. The code is below, the link is below, and let us battle things out. As I said before, the winner will sit down and discuss options for the coming week and try and give people advice on who they should get in their teams and who they should leave out. As always, I'm going to tell you to share, like, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next week.